We'll get back to your video shortly, but first, many of you right now will be watching the show on your phone, tablet or laptop, completely unaware that this very second someone could be accessing your device and stealing your data. Using the internet without private internet access, VPN, is like letting Facebook post your diary. Your friends and family can read all your dirty secrets. A virtual private network, or VPN for short, is an app that hides your IP address and safeguards your internet connection through an encrypted tunnel. It shields your digital life from those eyes who are looking to exploit your private information. Whenever you connect to the internet on a public Wi-Fi network at airports, coffee shops, friends' houses, or even at your own home, your data is at risk of being stolen. Your device is transmitting a great amount of information out into the open, which can be viewed by various different entities before reaching the intended website, such as your ISP, government censors, advertising companies, and more. Hackers on the same network can easily steal your personal data. With PIA, you're protected. But there's more. With PIA, you can access all your usual streaming services, including Netflix, Amazon Prime, and Disney+, even if you're outside your own region. All you need to do is open the app, select a server from 91 countries, and just like that, you're digitally there. And it's not just for fun. With recent legislation, more and more content is being restricted. PIA allows you to access the content and news that you want to watch. And with one PIA subscription, you can protect an unlimited number of devices, so that's the whole family covered. Follow the link in the description or scan the QR code on the screen now to receive a massive 86% discount, making it just £1.57 per month. There's a 30-day money-back guarantee, and to top it off, you'll receive 4 additional months for free. Head to piavpn.com now and take control of your digital life.
I think everything upsets Elon Musk, to be honest, Maddie. And so, yeah, undoubtedly, I think that is the case. But yes, it gets to the heart of this, which is that we as humanity have to be conscious that we are getting lots of benefits from these individuals ploughing all of their fortunes into these literal moonshots, as they often are. But we do have to also consider that actually the reason that that is happening is there is a clash of egos going on.
Chris Stokel-Walker, tech journalist, thank you so much for joining the Tech Report today.
Thanks for having me.
Let's start off with a threat from Elon Musk that seems to have come to fruition. Now, a few weeks ago, we saw him threaten to sue Apple over allied antitrust violations related to the rankings of Grok AI chatbots. Musk basically believed that Apple had unfairly been propping up ChatGPT into the Apple Store rankings and leaving X and Grok behind. So he wrote on X at the time, he said, Apple is behaving in a manner that makes it impossible for any AI company besides OpenAI to reach #1 in the App Store, which is an unequivocal antitrust violation. XAI will take immediate legal action. So he also further accused them of playing politics by refusing to put Grok or X in the must-have section of the App Store. So now we see, Chris, him officially suing OpenAI and Apple for this. So can you walk me through what's happened here?
Basically, the regular playbook that Elon Musk does, which is that he likes to seed the ground in terms of trying this sort of stuff on social media, poking at a long-time enemy, which is Sam Altman. Of course, the two were incredibly close with the founding of OpenAI a decade ago, and then grew apart as they differed in the potential direction of that company, and then actually backs it up with legal action. And Elon Musk is a relatively litigious person. He has the money to do this, and so if he believes that you are an enemy, as he believes OpenAI and particularly Sam Altman are, then he is willing to fight that in court and has done so before with OpenAI. What's interesting, I think, is that there is, in some ways, a sort of kernel of a point here with what Elon Musk is saying, which is we are expecting, at the same time as Elon Musk lodges this lawsuit, a decision on an antitrust trial involving Google. Which is alleged to have kind of had a controlling element of the browser market through its browser Chrome. We're expecting remedies to be decided by a judge who had already said that Google holds an anti-competitive stranglehold in that market pretty much any time soon. And actually, I think Elon Musk might be looking at that and saying, well, he thinks the same thing is happening here. We know that OpenAI has got a deal with various different companies to kind of be the default chatbot. Now, that is not why they are at the top of the App Store rankings here. It is simply that they are hugely popular. But I think that Elon Musk is conflating those two things and sees that there's maybe an opportunity here either to chance his arm and try and win a court case, which when you have his much money isn't that much of a big financial bet, or he just wants to kind of cause some mischief. And frankly, when it comes to anything to do with Sam Altman, those two like to cause each other some mischief.
Chris, Grok and ChatGPT, are they in the same league regardless of what Elon Musk thinks?
They are if you look at their pure performance. Grok did relatively well in some of the recent rankings of AI chatbots. ChatGPT generally seems to be the better, more widely used version because of some of the sensitivities around Grok and the way that it is willing to spew, frankly, content that many people would find inappropriate or just not nice to read and look at. But actually, these things tend to come in a broad cycle where actually one AI company puts out a new model, they tend to take the lead and see as their model being the leader in that pack, and then the next one comes along. We're expecting, by the way, this week Google to release their new versions of the Gemini AI chatbot that they have, which will see the baton handed over to them as kind of the leaders. So certainly this is a kind of big cat and mouse game between all of these AI companies. One seems to kind of pull away a little bit, and then all the others decide that they're going to release a new model. They learn the tricks of the trade that the previous one has. And so they are much of a sameness, although in terms of user adoption, of course, ChatGPT is way out of Grok's league just because of the way that it is kind of a little bit more sanitized, a little bit more mainstream, and a little bit more acceptable to everybody.
You mentioned this new Gemini. So is that more widely popular than ChatGPT? It's especially with constant development and advancements.
Yeah, well, obviously Google is a significant name in the tech space, and they really, I think, are the second horse in the two-horse race between OpenAI and Google. This is something that is being hinted at the very moment that we're talking by lots of Google employees. That big announcements are coming this week. I think we are expecting that probably in the next day or two to be released, and therefore a lot of hoopla coming around it. But really, if we're talking about kind of mainstream adoption, not just the sort of very tech literate users that are watching this right now, then we're talking about really two companies, and we're talking about OpenAI and Google.
Staying with Apple now, Chris, the company's reportedly plotting an iPhone lineup overhaul for the next 3 years with major redesigns, potentially making the iPhone a lot thinner, potentially making it one of the foldable phones. So is this necessary for Apple to have such a shake-up with the iPhone?
Well, we've not seen a lot of development on the iPhone for many years now, maybe sort of 5, 6, 7 years. It has been largely just tinkering around the edges, pretty much the same product released every single year. And I think a lot of people, as the price of these phones starts to rise and the cost of living gets a little bit more significant on all of us, are reevaluating whether or not they need to constantly be locked into that device upgrade cycle that happens every single year. And I think that Apple is recognizing that and seeing that actually they've maybe got a little bit stuck in their ways. They need to move out of that. And so we are seeing, of course, these big significant changes. We're expecting next month an iPhone Air, which is obviously borrowing a little bit from iMacs and different laptops that Apple has released in the past of being a much thinner model, although they always have this issue where actually in order to maintain kind of photo quality, because images are a big part of our smartphones nowadays, the camera lens is almost as thick as the phone is going to be. But really, I think what's happening here, Maddie, is the iPhone Air is going to be the next step towards this foldable device that we are expecting in the next year or so, which is going to be seen as the future of smart devices. We've seen obviously foldable phones in a lot of places. The problem with that is it is foldable, and so the thickness that you have when it is unfolded can either double or triple depending on whether it's a bifold or a trifold phone, and therefore you have to try and make it as thin as possible. But that true comes with trade-offs, including battery power, which is a big issue, and lots of other things as well.
even if the iPhone hasn't had any major developments or changes to it in the last 5 to 6 years, as you said, does the iPhone still not monopolize the smartphone world, Chris?
Well, in terms of high earning individuals, yes, it does. And this is one of the things that's really interesting. Actually, if you look globally at the smartphone market share, it is dominated by Android devices because they tend to be lower cost, although there are obviously some high spec, high price alternatives that you can get. Some of the high end Samsungs, for instance, will cost you almost as much, if not more, than an iPhone will. But the reality is that for lots of people, the iPhone is kind of seen as the cool factor. And that is, I think, a remnant of the sort of early to late 2000s when Apple was really leading the way in terms of lots of tech development. And obviously we've seen that change over time. Lots of competitors are innovating in different ways that are kind of chipping away at Apple's market dominance. But I think really when you think of a smartphone, you tend to think of an iPhone, even if they don't necessarily have the dominant market share. And that is in part because of user perception.
Moving on to a report that I want to get your thoughts on, Chris. The BBC has reported this week that YouTube was making AI enhancements to videos without telling or asking permission from their users. Now, the report reads that users started to notice small changes being made to their videos, questioning whether what they were seeing was real. And the report said that in recent months, YouTube has secretly used AI to tweak people's videos without letting them know or asking permission. Wrinkles in shirts seem to be more defined. Skin is sharper in some places and smoother in others. Pay close attention to ears and you may notice them warp. These changes are small, barely visible without a side-by-side comparison, yet some disturbed YouTubers say that it gives their content a subtle and unwelcome AI-generated feeling. So I wonder, Chris, what's the angle there from YouTube that would warrant them going and making these small enhancements?
The professional content is engaged with more, I think, is the long and the short of it, Maddie, which is that YouTube runs a gamut of different types of quality of content. Some of them are incredibly polished. You need only look at some of the big names like Mr. Beast to see that actually they are spending as much as a Netflix production might on a single video. But then you also have the amateur hobbyists who are often the most authentic and the most interesting creators who maybe don't have that polish. And so I think YouTube is looking at this and saying, well, if we can kind of professionalize content across the platform, then it works well for us because it increases watch time. Increasing watch time means that we can increase the amount that we charge for adverts, and the amount that we can charge for adverts means we can increase the amount of revenue that comes into our coffers. So I think that this is perhaps a well-intentioned attempt by YouTube to do this, and God knows we could all do with a little bit of kind of tweaking here and there, but actually the problem is that it gets to the heart of this thing with YouTube, which is authenticity. As soon as a creator looks inauthentic, as soon as they are not seeing warts or wrinkles and all, and actually you see a little bit of polish there, you do lose some of that connection with your viewer, and particularly in a creative space like YouTube, where that intensity of interaction with your audience is really the thing that makes the difference. You can understand perhaps why creators are a little bit unnerved by that.
Absolutely, especially if you're a creator and your entire persona is all about authenticity. If I'm looking at some creators I listen to as Emma Chamberlain, if I started to see her looking very airbrushed, it doesn't represent her brand. But I would find it very odd if you and I, looking at our YouTube video for the Tech Report, and saw that we had been, airbrushed down or had several tweaks made to our faces. But moving on to Elon Musk now, Chris, SpaceX has taken another hit after he was forced to call off a planned test flight for its Starship megarocket, reportedly only 30 minutes before it was set to launch. Now, is this the new norm with SpaceX, where it has these failed attempts?
I think that this is, and in part because Elon Musk is realizing quite what is at stake here. So you have kind of the two sides, I suppose, of Elon Musk demonstrated in this story. Number one is the kind of gung-ho brigadier that wants to push the boundaries of everything. Of course, we know that SpaceX is attempting to get into space, and particularly towards Mars, with Musk's ultimate goal of colonizing the planet. I think that is, frankly, a long, long way off, even if it is likely. I don't think necessarily it is. I think that's more science fiction than science fact. But also there is this element here, I suppose, of him being a realist. And actually this is where Musk is perhaps starting to evolve somewhat. Rather than throw up that rocket and take the chance that perhaps it might succeed, they realised that there was something wrong on the ground, and they thought, well, actually, better to be safe than sorry here. These rockets do cost an awful lot of money. Elon Musk is, of course, very rich, but perhaps he's trying to fund his legal fees with OpenAI and Apple, so he wants to actually keep that behind for there. Thinks that we should be a little bit more judicious in how we use these rockets, and so decided that actually the sort of slight PR hit that he gets from another failed launch is a little bit better than the kind of spectacular crashes that we've seen in the past.
Well, you mentioned this colonization of Mars. SpaceX still hasn't gone to Mars, but we found out a week or so ago that Jeff Bezos's Blue Origin was gearing up for a mission to go to Mars in September 29th, 2025. So just over a month away. This means that Blue Origin would beat Elon Musk's SpaceX to get to Mars. Of course, Elon Musk has different ambitions. As you mentioned, he doesn't want to just get there, he wants to colonize Mars. But regardless, do you think this would upset Musk, Chris, to see that Blue Origin was making their way there before him?
I think everything upsets Elon Musk, to be honest, Maddie. And so, yeah, undoubtedly, I think that is the case. But yes, it gets to the heart of this, which is that we as humanity have to be conscious that we are getting lots of benefits from these individuals ploughing all of their fortunes into these literal moonshots, as they often are. But we do have to also consider that actually the reason that that is happening is there is a clash of egos going on. And we've talked previously about, for instance, Elon Musk's argument with Sam Altman over brain-computer interfaces. Neuralink is doing a lot of stuff there with Elon Musk, and also Sam Altman has said recently, or rumored to be involved in a brain-computer interface company that is designed to compete with Neuralink. Same thing in the space race with Jeff Bezos, Blue Origin trying to compete with Elon Musk at SpaceX. These things are pushing forwards the boundaries of discovery, and they should be welcomed, but we also need to bear in mind that there are some pretty fragile egos that are being involved here as well. So always be cautious in terms of all of this stuff.
Yeah, it does seem that there's a lot of interlapping when it comes to every kind of new industry that these people want to get their hands into. As you mentioned, Neuralink, and you mentioned SpaceX and Blue Origin. It's just interesting to see whether they all have the same interests and want to put their money in the same areas. But just a final question, sticking on Elon Musk, Chris. Kimball Musk, Elon Musk's younger brother, he was in an interview with CNBC. He spoke about his brother's pay package as the CEO remains in a bit of a legal dispute over his salary with Tesla. Now, he said, I think my brother deserves to be paid. He has had zero pay for the past 6 to 8 years. I don't think that's right. I'll let Tesla shareholders make that decision, but I believe that it does need to be. He needs to be paid. Now, Chris, for anyone who's kind of confused as to why Elon Musk wouldn't have been paid in this amount of time, why is this, and how else does he get compensated?
Yeah, so Elon Musk was granted a very significant pay package, something like $56 billion back in 2018, but then there was a legal challenge lodged towards that, saying that actually he didn't deserve it. And one of the issues here is that you have a kind of very disquieted rump of shareholders in Tesla who are really uncomfortable with the direction of travel that the company is going in, believing that Musk is distracted, he's not a good custodian. And one of the issues here, of course, is that actually what was once Elon Musk's pretty much privately run company, something that he could do with his own whims, is now answerable to shareholders, and the stakes have got higher as electric vehicle uptake has increased. And there is a risk here that what was once a pretty dominant market for Tesla could be lost to cheaper Chinese competitors. That's in part why he was so keen to cozy up to Donald Trump and to say that actually it's important that we ensure that American first cars are on the roads of America. There was slapping of import taxes on Chinese EVs to try and prevent the kind of undercutting of prices that would scupper Tesla's business. Now, Musk was granted earlier this month a kind of interim pay package worth around about half of what he was meant to have. That is still in dispute. You have a lot of shareholders who say, well, this still shouldn't happen. The performance still isn't where we expect it to be. Elon Musk, frankly, is still trying to juggle too many plates. And so there is an attempt here to kind of combine the stick with the carrot. You obviously want to incentivize him to do well and to focus on this company by offering him this pay package, but then at the same time you want to make sure that he doesn't get complacent and ensure that actually you're withholding some of that money in order to make sure that he is actually focusing on the company. So it's a really difficult one to try and unpick, truthfully, because there are so many different points of view on this, and shareholders will have their personal views on Elon Musk, they will have their business views on Elon Musk. I think what they are all united by is recognizing that there is a real opportunity here with Tesla to make an awful lot of money and to really corner off a very high growth industry. They just hope that Elon Musk pays attention to it and actually can focus on it.
And I'm sure that he will, now that we've seen reports that he's pausing the America Party. So we'll wait and watch to see if that actually does continue, and it is completely out of the realm of possibility. But interesting to talk to you, Chris Stokel-Walker. Thank you so much for joining the Tech Report today.
Thank you.